Hello class, this is Mr. Miles again. As you can see, sadly my computer is not the same as it used to be. I lost a lot of my stuff and my hard drive crashed, but luckily I just swapped them out. Got a new hard drive, started reinstalling some of the stuff so I can do podcasts, so I can come back at you. Sorry there was such a delay in it. But today what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about what comes out of Chapter 3. Chapter 3, Lesson 1. So, Chapter 3, Lesson 1. The question asked is, what is a plant? Before we even talk about plants, we want to talk about what we were discussing in class the other day, which was which came first, the first land plant or the first land animal. And if you remember, we listed out what animals need. So they need water, they need oxygen, they need food, they need sunlight, well, they need the sun for warmth, they need shelter, and obviously, since they're land plants, they need land. Plants, we talked about, they need CO2, they need H2O, they need that water, they need the sun, and they need land. And remember what we talked about? We said you can look right here and see that because a plant requires a lot less, the conditions are going to be ready for a plant faster than they're going to be ready for an animal. And also the nice analogy, the nice thing people were saying is like for animals to get their food, right there, they're going to need plants to exist because the herbivores need something to eat and the carnivores need the herbivores to have something to eat or else they can't eat the herbivores. So that's what we were talking about. So always remember, plants come first, animals came second. What a bunch of losers. Now, the other thing is, how do scientists figure out what plants are related to what? We talked about they can use chlorophyll. Also, chlorophyll, a nice thing is it gives the plant its green pigment. And if you remember, pigment means color. So that green pigment comes from the chlorophyll, which is giving it that plant's its green color. Now, the next thing you're going to see on here is, as we go through it, we're talking about the characteristics of plants. We know that they are all multicellular, except there's one unicellular, so there's one uni, that'd be algae, except for one, which is algae. We know that they're autotrophs, meaning they're going to go through photosynthesis. And that is where you take sunlight and you turn it into food, into simple sugars that the plant can actually use. Now, because plants, where are we? Because plants are multicellular, they have different parts of the plant that do different things. So they're divided up into tissues. If you want to be really fancy, say tissues. You delicate southern belly and saying tissues. Yeah, I don't know. Just say tissue. Be like a tough guy. So tissue. And remember, we said that humans are also divided up into tissue. And don't say Kleenex. No, we're not divided into Kleenex. I had people saying that. Oh my gosh. But as humans, we're divided into tissue. We have brain tissue. We have muscle tissue. We have heart tissue. So on and so forth. I don't know. You guys can probably think of a few. Lung tissue. There's a lot, but yeah, my brain isn't working too much today. Now we're divided into tissues. Plants have the same kind of thing, and we're going to learn about a lot of the tissues as we go on to it. But right now we're just kind of hitting on the smaller things. Another thing that we're going to run into with these specialized cells, these specialized functions, because you remember a bacteria was single-celled, so like its cell did everything. It was in charge of eating, moving, it controlled everything. But with plants, is they have specialized cells, so they could have right here. They have in them, they have the ones that help make the food, which contain the chloroplasts. So they have cells that contain the chloroplasts, and they make food. So food is made inside the chloroplast. Now, again, we were talking about how if you're hungry, you don't go to Smith's and get your meal for say it's for lunch, and you get your lunch and you go home, you cook it, you eat it, and then all of a sudden dinner rolls around, and you go back to Smith's, you get your food for that. No. It makes a lot more sense, to get the food, get it from Smith's. For like a week or so, you probably go shopping like once a week, and you store it places, in a fridge, cabinets. If anybody has, like, somebody was saying that, like, they have food hidden away in the room, when they have food storage, then you can have all these different places. Well, plants have the same kind of thing where they can store excess food, water, things that they can use in times of, like, drought or when the soil's not very good, and they have these things that are called vacuoles. And vacuoles simply store food. That's all they do. They store food. They store, well, I don't want to say food, water. If you want to see exactly what it is, it can store water, waste, and food. That sounds kind of weird to be storing water and waste in the same place. It's like, storing your food inside of a toilet. But again, they're different. So, and hopefully they don't store it both at the same time. But even if they don't, they're plants. They don't care. They don't have brains. Now, the next thing is about retaining water. So they want to hold on to this water because the same place, so here's my beautiful little plant. Oh, there's this cute little leaf. And looks like a flower. So this flower right here relies on the sun. So the sun's beating down these rays. It's able to do photosynthesis because of the sun rays. But at the same time, it's doing another thing. It's actually drying it out. It's making this water want to evaporate. So these plants need a way to protect themselves from getting dehydrated from all the water leaving them. So they have something called a cuticle. And you can look at plants, and if you've ever noticed that you look at a pear or you look at the outside of a potato and how the outside is different from the inside. And what that is that's simply a waxy layer that protects the plant from having extreme water loss. It keeps the water from leaving. And so just look at different fruits and vegetables, just any other kind of plant, and they're going to have that waxy outer layer, which is going to keep them. You look at leaves, they have that waxy outer layer. When you're looking at, like, the trunks of trees, they don't really have it because that bark is there to help prevent that water loss, and there's a layer underneath it, with a cork. But when you're looking at leaves, when you're looking at flowers, you're looking at fruits, when you're looking at vegetables, they're going to have that waxy layer. Now the last thing we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about how tall plants can get things from one place to another. Now we talked about today, I announced in class that I have a problem. My foot needs oxygen. So my foot needs oxygen. Now my foot can't just directly take in oxygen. It just doesn't work like that. So we talked about where we take in oxygen. So I take in oxygen through my mouth. It goes down into my lungs. Now that it's in my lungs, it needs to have a way in order to get to my foot. And we talked about, there's 3 different things we have. We have our veins, our arteries, our capillaries. And all these work on transporting, the blood picks up the oxygen and bringing it all the way down into my foot. And that's how our body transports oxygenated blood and minerals throughout our body. It has a network of systems that help move throughout it. We call this vascular tissue. Now, plants have the same kind of vascular tissue, but no, they do not have veins, arteries, and capillaries. That would be really gross if you, broke a plant in half and started bleeding and it started screaming at you. It'd be really scary. Something out of a horror movie. But they do have their own specialized type of vascular tissue. Again, if you want to sound fancy, tissue. Now, they have 2 different types. They have xylem, and they also have phloem. Xylem is primarily responsible for the water. Phloem is primarily responsible for the food. Though in here there can be minerals and nutrients in that water, but we're just going to keep it on the basic ones. Now, the way that I remember xylem is this: W-X-Y-Z. And you remember that that's the last 4 letters of the alphabet? Well, here's easy. So you have water with this W. That's a terrible arrow, but there it is. You have XY for the xylem. And then to remember that it's pronounced xylem and not exilium is there's that Z right there. That's reminding you how to pronounce it. So all of it's conveniently located at the end of the alphabet. Now, if you have a hard time remembering that, remember this one, and then you know that by default water has to go with xylem. Is pH makes that F sound, and so F also makes that F sound, and so phloem, food, easy peasy. Because if the English language wasn't so messed up, that would be called phloem, but it's not, so it makes that S sound. You know, like when your mom tells you to answer the pahoni. So yeah, there you go. So these things extend throughout vascular plants, and we talked about it a little bit today. You know, you have non-vascular plants, but you also have vascular plants. The vascular plants are the ones that are going to be very tall, so they need this vascular tissue in order to get it to different places in the plant. So that is all I have for you today. So this is the first lesson back. I probably sounded a little bit weird, but it rained today, and that's what rain does to me. I'm like Superman, and when it rains, all my powers of awesomeness are gone. But don't worry, there's still plenty of awesomeness left over. So, until next time, if you have any questions, just feel free to email me. Otherwise, I will see you in class. Take care, buddies. Bye.